And I did some show jumping, and then I wanted to just get into the fox hunting.
Okay.
So,
Does it
And someone will need to take
do
minutes
the
because
girls
I have
fox
to
hunt with you?
moderate
so they have
this.
All right, is everyone ready?
She's a senior.
You ready?
We will welcome to tonight's. I'm reading from script. This is not my normal job here, so.
Are you taking over?
Just temporarily. Julie's out of town. She asked me if I would do it for her. Welcome to tonight's Milton Equestrian Committee meeting. If you're attending virtually via Zoom, there are a few guidelines I would like to mention. Everyone is muted and your videos are turned off by default at minimum to minimize any disruptions. If you would like to make a comment during the public hearing portions of this meeting, please raise your hand by clicking on the icon labeled Participants at the bottom of your screen and then click the button labeled Raise Hand. If you are calling into the meeting on a phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9, I think it is, on your keyboard once the moderator calls your name. Please unmute yourself by clicking on the microphone button on the bottom of your screen or by pressing *6 on your phone. I'm not sure if anyone is calling in or not. She will know on her computer, I'm sure, but we'll move forward and call to order the roll call and introductions. And I would like to call the regular meeting of the Milton Equestrian Committee in session, and we'll call the roll call. I have a roll here that I can call, but it's an old one, so it's got Laura Bentley and Carol Cookerly on it, so I think you probably got a more current one. We've transferred them to the council, so.
That's right.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Larry Covington, and I'm here. Susan Day,
Here.
Susan Kimball,
Here.
and Chrissy Reeves,
Here.
and Tony Rich, and Julie Shannon's out, and Brian Mahoney.
Yes, here.
And we'd like to welcome you, Brian. We missed that opportunity. The last meeting we were here, you couldn't make it, I think. And that was supposed to be the night we were going to have us all together. And then the next meeting, we postponed it to Lynn, and COVID took over. So we didn't have an opportunity. But I'd like for you, if right now, before we get to the meeting agenda, maybe introduce yourself. Tell us a little about yourself.
Great. I'm Brian Maloney, originally from Ohio. Grew up in rural Ohio. All my friends were dairy farmers and everything. I have 3 daughters, and when my older 2 hit middle school, they came home one day and asked if they could get a horse. At the time, we were living in Windward, and because of my rural background, I said, if you want a horse, we need to move to the country, and you guys can have a great life responsibility. So we bought a farm on Wood Road, so we're right at Wood and Phillips, right on the corner there. And the girls would get up 5 o'clock, go feed, muck, take care of the horses. And my oldest went on to ride for University of Georgia's varsity equestrian team. Got 2 national championship rings and all that fun stuff. And my youngest is a senior at UGA, and she's on the varsity equestrian team. And you guys probably remember when Julie Curtin's barn burnt down a number of years ago. My youngest daughter's horse died in that, and I had just brought in a horse for myself because after going to all these shows, I thought, oh my gosh, I want to do this. But in the role of the parent, we always put our needs secondary to the kids. So when I brought this horse in, and then Julie's barn fire occurred, and Julie goes, well, let's bring Titan over and let's see how she does on Titan. So she rode my horse for the next 3.5 years. Then when she went off to college, I finally got Titan back. So I competed in the hunter jumper and the A circuit and show jumping, and my goal is to do the fox hunting and everything. So we have an active farm right now. We've got horses. We'll have some baby sheep here in a couple weeks, and chickens, all the fun stuff. I was also chairman of the Milton Trail Committee from the inception, And one of the frustrating things for me when I was chairman of that was when I would reach out to the Milton Equestrian Committee, because when we were doing cross sections of the roads and everything, I would say, gosh, we'd love to grade a section along the side to have, horses, be able to get from point A to point B. And the response that came back was, oh, no, we would never put our show horses on the side of a road and everything. And that was it. And so when Laura asked me if I wanted to participate in the committee, I was very excited to participate, I guess, in asking around a little bit, what is the mission statement and the goal of the committee?
Well, I'm not sure I can say it exactly because I haven't got my notes in front of me from the original mission statement, but it's to be sure that we promote equestrian activities of all natures, whether it's trail riding or the showing or whether it's the fox hunting, if we have some of that in the area. And I understand there's a lot more polo coming in this area, but I'm not sure all of the rumors I've heard about that is true yet, so I won't state it as fact, but we can. That looks like that's going to come around, if it closes this month, by the end of this year, it could be a reality of construction within Milton.
Awesome.
But right now, we have that's basically is to promote as much as we can because everything is trying to be related, even the pictures of the horses on the police cars and in our city as a whole. So that's our mission, to do that.
Larry, do you want me to read about it?
Yes, I'd appreciate that.
The Milton Equestrian Committee is a diverse group of individuals appointed by the Milton City Council, experienced in various equestrian disciplines, lifestyles, related businesses, and nonprofit organizations. The committee is dedicated to promoting and protecting the rights and interests of equestrian enthusiasts and farm owners by joining together individuals interested in horses, whether for business or pleasure, and promoting equestrian activity in the city of Milton.
So that's the official mission that I didn't have with me. So I'm glad you had it, Tony. That's great.
Yeah, I just pulled that right in my ear, didn't I?
We are letting, skipping down to you because when we introduced you and called the roll, I felt like it was important for us to know your background. And I'm sure you'd like to know some of the background of all the rest of us. So while we're out of order on our agenda, we'll go ahead and do that. Susan, if you'll start, we'll go around.
Yeah, well, we were just talking about it a little bit, but I've been involved with horses my whole life. I was a full-time trainer until I had my third child, and at that point I ratcheted that program back and went corporate to pay for their horse shows and have my own farm at home that I bought 5 years ago, or a little more than that now. And, we still are very involved in horse shows and the general horse community, and wanted to be more involved as we could be in Milton. So here I sit.
Okay, mine's not quite as fancy. I actually get to represent the only non-horse equestrian person on the equestrian committee. We actually have, 12 acres on Freemanville, and we have the 6 mini donkeys. So,
Oh, great. Yeah, wonderful. Okay, fantastic.
So you're not in the polo or...
I may have to buy one of yours to protect my sheep.
They're so sweet. I don't know how protective they are, but they're sweet. My daughter does ride. She's ridden, since elementary school, and she does hunter jumper in the shows, and until there weren't many shows this year. But personally, our equestrian consists of donkeys.
Well, you don't think yours is as fancy, it gets even worse. I'm probably the only member of the committee that solely rides Western. I sat in an English saddle when I was a kid and swore I would never step my rear end on one again. So we have a farm over on Bethany Way. We've got 7 horses, and right now it's just all our family. We all like to ride. We've been riding for years, and our favorite thing to do is to do cow working and roping and stuff like that. We don't do a whole lot of that on our farm, but any chance we get to go out and work cows is really something we enjoy doing. a lot. We all ride quarter horses. To your point earlier, my wife and I have been talking about fox hunting for quite a while. We've got some friends that are in the Shaker Rag fox hunting group up in, I think it's Hull, Georgia. And we keep toying around with that, so I'd love to
Yeah, so we have to
offline
connect and
have some discussion with you about that.
Perfect.
I just can't imagine myself riding in those pants, and I prefer to wear a cowboy hat, and not a helmet. So if I can get past those two things,
hey, that's why you have your Guinness before you go ride.
I know. You know, we have gone up there to visit, and I did notice that they all carry little leather flask holders on their saddles. So, you know, we'll figure something out. But anyway, you know, we've been in Milton for about 3 years now, and like yours, my kids have always enjoyed being around the farm. We've got a daughter, 16, that loves to ride, and you know, that's just her life, is to get out and work with horses and animals. And my wife and I ride as much as we can. So, but we compete in absolutely nothing, and the only thing I ever jump is something that might be in the way.
Okay, Susan.
Hi, I'm Susan Day. I am the representative of the subdivision people. I live in a subdivision. The only one on the committee that does that. However, I have horses that I board here in Milton, and I have ridden in this area for many, many years. I competed at Wills Park long enough ago that, you know, you had to drive to the IHOP on Roswell Road to get food. That was literally the closest place. I owned a farm for a while that's now the soccer farm on 372.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, I sold that and moved on and went on to work at Mill Springs Academy here in Milton that I retired from about a year ago. I'm a dressage rider. I have warm bloods, but I also have some off-the-track thoroughbreds. And I co-own a couple of off-the-track thoroughbreds with some eventing people. So I no longer event, but I did when I was much younger.
Awesome. So. That was what I wanted to do too at one time. But
And I'll introduce myself, Larry Covington. I'll be 73 in 2 months, and I spent 63 of those years here in Alpharetta, Milton area. It was Alpharetta only then, but we moved up here from downtown Atlanta, so I spent my first 10 years in downtown Atlanta and the rest out in the country. When I moved out here, Milton and Alpharetta were not as, they were not as developed as they are now. It was a lot of development to happen, and I've been through most of it through those 63 years. But I've loved horses since Cisco Kid, Roy Rogers, and all the shows that came on when I was a child. And I've always grew up Western, riding Western pleasure, and we have enjoyed it. But my daughter was hunt seat, she showed the hunt seat, and we've got 2 granddaughters now that want to do hunter jumper. So we're stretching out into areas that I'm not familiar with, but I'm looking forward to working with them in. And got to know a lot of the people that do those, and it's really interesting to me. We have 3 children, 7 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild that was born June 2nd. So we're brand new great-grandparents. And she was born on our 52nd anniversary. We've been married 52 years on June 2nd, so she was born on our anniversary. And my daughter's birthday and all the other holidays that both her grandmothers were going to have birthdays close to it, and it's going to be born on our birthday. And Nadine and I just kept quiet, and sure enough, she was born on our anniversary. So we're excited about that. But we've got them. I've got a 28-year-old granddaughter and an 8-year-old granddaughter, so they're stretched out quite a ways. And we've got to enjoy them riding our horses. We have 2 horses and a mini donkey we've gotten. So I got that from my wife on our 47th anniversary. So that night I told her I got her a jackass for our anniversary, and she said, "You give me one of those 47 years ago." But that's our story, and we look forward to getting to know you a lot better over time. And as you'll find out, we all just let our hair down and have a good time. And
Well, I have 2 grandchildren, but you look very youthful, Larry, and so I'll give you a little tip. I'm too young to be a grandpa, so they call me Uncle Brian. So you should have yours call you Uncle Larry.
That sounds all right.
All right, we will go for the approval of our meeting agenda. Does everyone have an agenda in front of you? Do I hear a motion to approve that agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
And a second? I got a second from Chrissy. So we'll approve that meeting agenda. We also want to approve our approval of the minutes from February 2019. Now, I don't have a set of those. So, yeah, okay. And then we're going to have public comment, and there's nobody here, but nobody online either, I assume. Okay. And then for new business, we were going to welcome our new committee member, and we got to do that a while ago. So we're glad to have you with us, and glad you got to know us better, too, through that introduction. Our next item was community development to speak at the next meeting. I think...
That's me. Not me, community development. I'm going to come closer to you.
Okay.
I just wanted to let you all know that they will be in the July meeting, sort of giving you all an update on the equestrian zoning project, what that looks like. I'll get from them how long they think that'll take. She didn't give me any specific items they wanted to talk about. I just wanted you all to be aware that they wanted to try to come to this meeting, but so they will definitely, hopefully things will be a little more normal at the next meeting, and they will be there.
Courtney, do you know if there's any way we can get some at least high-level idea of what they're going to talk to us about beforehand so we can be better prepared to ask questions? I felt like I wasn't super productive last time we met with them because I was like, whoa, taking in a lot of information. That'd be awesome.
They always ask if we have any questions, and it's hit so quickly we don't really
Yeah,
know
I know
what
they want to
questions
wait,
ask.
of course, to explain themselves. I get it, but it would be nice to have
General
some idea what's coming to think about it ahead of
Right.
time.
I think sometimes they hesitate because it is in draft form.
Sure.
They hesitate to send that out because then it gets out. We're like, we're building a new Will's Park.
Yes.
Like that was just the concept.
Yes. No,
Yes,
I totally understand that, but
Right, I'll have them.
it might be more productive if we have a little heads up anyway.
All right.
Unfinished is mine too, Larry. I'm gonna go ahead with the fireworks. So I talked to Greg about the fireworks plan. Susan, I think he and the interns were at your place yesterday.
They were, yes.
Are the interns fantastic?
Yes, they did a great job.
One from Georgia Tech, one from UGA. Sorry, Auburn. They're just super bright. They're great. And they're doing a comprehensive internship program, so they get to learn about every department in the
nice.
city. Instead of like just community development, just parks. They'll work with every department, so that's exciting.
And I apologize, he must have reached out to me. We've been at Lake Raven most of
Oh.
COVID, but
Right.
good and bad, there's not like hardly any internet or anything.
Right.
And so I missed that whole thing, so thank you, Susan, for doing
Oh.
that, so.
I'm just relying on those sweet interns to edit heavily, make sure it's coherent.
So
And we'll check.
what are they? What are
So
the?
they're doing us, they're going to do a video on how fireworks adversely affect horses and other pets, and things that people should know about that on the city's social media pages. This will start June 24th and run all the way through the 4th of July. So we always do a pretty heavy fireworks can harm horses campaign as holidays where people use fireworks approach. Go ahead.
Well, because, gosh, we, people are always going to set fireworks off and stuff, and I was thinking about it, how can we approach things differently? And my real job is a surgeon, and so I try to look at the problem and try to figure out, okay, what are possible solutions? So I don't know, I was playing with something, and that's why I was asking about the mission statement and stuff like that. But by putting the signs out and stuff like that, that may create an awareness. But if we have a opportunity maybe to work through GHGA, or do we have a listing of all the farms in Milton where horses are?
We don't have firm data on
Yeah.
counts of horses or specifically what's a farm, what's not. That's something that,
Because maybe initiative could be to let's start creating that registry, so that gives us an avenue to distribute information. But the thing that I was thinking about or had put together, and this may be totally off base, and I apologize because I always hate to be the person at the thing for the first time and then kind of go. But I made a copy for everyone, but fireworks plus horses doesn't have to equal mayhem. Why prepare for fireworks? Horses are large flight animals that can cause a lot of damage or harm themselves when frightened or threatened. How to know if your horse is anxious. They may display kicking, tail swishing, vocalization, pawing, sweating, repetitive head movements, kicking. How to prepare. Talk to neighbors. Let them know horses are nearby and ask them please not to set fireworks off near them. Keep your horses inside. Horses will feel less inclined to panic if they're in a space they feel safe. Make sure they have ample bedding. Do not tie them up. If they remain outside, they may run wild and cause injury. Decrease the noise. Ear protection. Small foam balls in the ear. You want to get the horse accustomed to these before the fireworks. Close the barn doors and windows. Play loud music in the barn as a masking. Keep your daily routine. Keep the surroundings and daily activities the same. If possible, exercise them during the day. Regularly check on your horse. Your presence will have a calming effect on the horse. Keep the herd together. Horses are herd animals. By seeing each other in the barn, that'll have a calming effect. Keep the barn lights on all night because that'll minimize any of the flash and everything. Make sure the horses have plenty of hay. If you have a really very nervous or anxious horse, you should discuss with your veterinarian, possible use of a tranquilizer or natural anti-anxiety treatment such as Nutricalm. And then horse desensitization. And, if your horse is really frightened by lightning or thunder or fireworks, a desensitization clinic. And I thought that might be something fun because I know when I came in for one of the trail meetings, one of the police officers stopped me and he goes, "Oh, I just went through the mounted police desensitization program." And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be kind of neat for the committee to put together a little clinic for people to come and, the officer could do a program, or you guys may have those skills, but just doing a couple-hour program to give some of the trainers an opportunity. But, I just said planning for fireworks really needs to be a year-long process. We tend to think of it, 4th of July, New Year's and stuff. But if people can, work on this, banging pots and pans in their barn. So I guess I was taking more of the role of the horse owner and the trainer, trying to give them some ideas or tools as I was kind of digging through this. And once again, this may be very simple, way off in the past. And I apologize if that,
no, I think that's, and a lot of what you're saying is part of what we were talking about when Greg was over doing my little interview. So some of that is already covered, but I wonder if we all, felt good about this list, which it's perfectly sensible, great suggestions in my opinion. Maybe Greg, as he's putting together what he's putting out, I mean, we're mostly, at this point, the perspective has been, I think, more addressing non-equestrians and helping them understand how fireworks impact livestock. But your angle is something we haven't really talked about, or at least not when I've been around. Maybe y'all did before. Maybe we could add, that for a multi-pronged.
Yeah, I think it's great because the approach we've been trying to work on is education. Thank you. And this, as Susan said, we've really focused on the non-horse owners because they really, in many cases, just don't realize how damaging it is. And I think if it were only the 4th of July and New Year's, horse owners can prepare for that and, kind of deal with it. But there are a lot of other celebrations that go on.
The Indian holiday. And
yes, and then apparently around graduation time this year, or at least according to social media, there was a lot. I didn't hear it, but I think it's the randomness of it. So I like the idea of educating both the horse owners and the non-horse owners to try to get them to work together. If you know you're going to do a fireworks display, let the people in your area, know about it. And there's a lot on social media about need to get the laws changed. I mean, that's just not going to happen, from my understanding. So,
And I think from the social media perspective, and we definitely focus on the equestrian side of it, but a lot of what I was seeing as a whole is not just people upset that are equestrian owners, but a lot of people with dogs and children with sensory issues and things like that. So as far as the community,
with PTSD, I mean, it's
There's
really
a-
rough.
I mean, I heard a lot about the horses, but I think that there's a lot more people that from the, like the non-horse owner from a sensitivity side that are really supporting the same thing that we can kind of work with or at least support together, because I mean there were a lot of upset people, and quite honestly it was more that I was seeing that didn't have horses.
Yeah,
right. So I think so as many people as much as we're upset from equestrian side, I think as a community there's a lot more people that are just upset in general, because it's upsetting to a lot of animals, children.
And I think even letting the community read something like this and intertwine other animals such as dogs and so forth, that would be helpful, because they would understand what we have to go through to prepare our animals for that. And they, like you said, Susan, they just don't really realize the harm that it causes. And if we have some way of letting them know that, because I've tried the item about closing the barn doors and the windows and playing music and keeping the lights on, it worked great. But the first year I did it, I turned it on WSB and they played the fireworks. And wasn't very smart on my part. So I have played canned music now for them. So a little more soothing atmosphere. But it does work, because I've tried it with mine. And I've got one that doesn't mind at all. It doesn't bother him at all. But one of my mares, boy, she just goes crazy with fireworks.
Well, maybe that's part of the solution. To Brian's point is maybe we should start all playing firework music in our barns, and then when the real thing happens, the horses get scared.
That's true. They'd be used to it by then.
And I would be interested in pursuing some sort of desensitization clinic. I don't really know how you go about doing that safely.
Yeah, there's probably some liability issues.
Yeah, but it's certainly worth investigating, I think.
Well, I mean, gosh, having put on many courses over the years, I think we could do it just as an information thing for an hour or two here, and not as a practical clinic, or maybe we do meet at someone's farm and he, works on his horse, or, gives the tidbits and stuff. But it's, and it seems like within a 2-hour deal, someone might be able to pick up some tips. Oh my gosh, never heard of that. Let me try that. But just, having lived here, gosh, ever since, over 20 years and stuff, I love the horses and stuff. And it was funny, on the trail committee, someone came up and said, well, you got the horse, but, is this really a horse community? And boy, I mean, there hasn't been that much organized stuff. And I think that could be a really great role of the committee. Hey, let's throw some, information out there for the horse owners and the public people see it. And then, oh my gosh, boy, this is an equestrian community. I mean, you go to Aiken, anyone who's shown has, gone to Aiken, what a great horse community, polo, everything. I mean, it's just neat. And I think that Milton has that same opportunity to really just bring up a lot of neat stuff.
We really haven't addressed it this way yet. What we did in the past is do some of the signs, and we put those out every time. And like you said a while ago, it's not just at the 4th of July and New Year's now. No. It's 3 or 4 days before the 4th and after the 4th because of the laws, and some of those have tightened up a little bit, but the truth is, it's not just one, so it's like you can't prepare for it except on the 4th of July or on New Year's Eve. And not being prepared, all of a sudden you hear fireworks outside and you run out and get the horses and take them to the barn, and if you can catch them. And, that's the other challenge, is that we just have to be prepared for when it does happen. But I think that's good. And it brings us up to one of your points is how do we let the people know and get the communities such as the subdivisions involved? And we've been working on that, and that's our next item on our unfinished business is tour of barns update. And we were running strong on that until the coronavirus hit, and that's put us back a few months now.
Well, and that's I asked Courtney to add it on there. I mean, Susan and I discussed it early in the COVID days, and it's really just kind of tabled until we see
Right.
where it's, it's
And
certainly.
I feel like we were sort of at the point we were ready to pull the trigger.
we were
and say,
super
let's,
ready to pull the trigger.
Let's do this thing. We had
Yes.
it all planned.
Yeah.
But I'm
can't.
not comfortable.
No, I mean, it would,
And
it's
the
just
home
not
of
the
the
right
barn
time.
owners aren't.
Yeah.
certainly
Oh,
gonna
no,
be,
no, I wouldn't do it.
And the liability, it's just
Yes.
it's not.
Yes.
Not right now. So
Not the time.
hopefully this gets resolved at some point, maybe next year we can discuss it. But for this year, we both, luckily it was very easy. We were like, yeah, no, we're not working on this
You
anymore
might
right now.
explain to Brian what we were trying to do, just so he'll be familiar with what we.
Yeah, I mean, the goal was, what our plan was to select a handful of farms around Milton, not necessarily the big name farms that everybody drives past and sees all the time, but, some of the smaller, more boutique style barns or old, really historically important barns. Anyway, just to sort of like tour of homes, but it's more of a self-guided tour instead of buses going around. So that was really the gist of it, is a self-guided tour of that we would select. We would curate the list of which barns would be on it. The committee would, and it would be in the fall, and it was going to be lovely. And we were going to promote how this really is an equestrian community and make people aware that there really are places tucked away that you might not be aware of, but alas.
And so would that be a fundraiser for the equestrian community?
Ultimately,
or
probably, yes. We were trying to do a very, very low level,
kind of a soft opening?
yes, this
We
first
were thinking,
time.
like, for starters, maybe about 5 barns, just to see how
And we weren't
the whole-
trying to get big sponsors
No,
or anything like that
To see how
at
the
this
whole
time.
self-guided thing would go, and each barn would have like an open house during a certain period of time, and, but we felt we needed to kind of see how the plan worked for real instead of in our heads, because it was perfect in our heads.
Yes, it was
And
wonderful.
part of our
in our
mission,
heads.
like we were talking about, is, there are the promoting in the equestrian community, but the one thing that we've really realized in Milton, the sad part is a lot of our horse farms are going away with development. We've lost a lot of acreage of actual horse farms, but we still have a community that, even though so many residents don't have horses, they appreciate the horses and they love the equestrian community. So it's not just promoting within those that have equestrian, but promoting just the concept of equestrian. And then we did, a Meet the Neighbors kind of little event, just you put so much work into it. But it really was just, we were surprised how many kids came out and people, and they would stop by the table just, asking, what is this all about? And they said, how many people said, we don't have horses, we just want to get our kids around horses, we just want to learn about horses, we want to be exposed to him, we appreciate that in the community. So that was kind of one of the exciting things that was going to happen with the tour of barns, is a lot of people in this area that don't get the opportunity to go to barns, but are curious about, some of the properties. We thought, that would be a
Trying to
positive.
bridge that gap between the non-equestrian and the equestrian.
And it's still going to happen.
It is going to happen. It's just not going to happen right now.
2020 just didn't turn out to be.
It was a great idea, and they were working on it very hard, and like you said, they were ready to pull the trigger on it, and then the coronavirus came about. So we probably do want to do that. We just got to see how things pan out. Not so many of us are wondering, is there going to be a second wave? Is it going to end? Will everything return to normal again, or what's going to happen? But we just don't know, and we got to wait and see. And I think this is one of those things that you would at least keep within. In the way they had it set up, they were going to do a smaller crowd anyway to be at each barn at a different time, because rather than having a bunch of people at one barn at one time, they were going to have them separated. So it was a great plan. It was really worked on, and they'd worked on it very hard. I hated to see it fold, but I knew why, and we all did at that point.
And another thing, in addition to that we had talked about, Meet the Neighbors was a year ago, and it was as Chrissy said, very successful. Having something else like that. Perhaps, I think at one point we talked about doing something at Julie's.
Yeah.
And maybe getting the vet group from Cambridge involved, or maybe the riding teams from Milton, just get the community involved, and, here's a pony and this is how you pick out the feed, and just to get younger kids that aren't familiar to be able to pet the ponies.
And the high school IEA teams, I don't know if anyone has any
exactly.
children, but I mean, I know when my girls run those, man, that would be a great, they would love to.
So that's something else that we'd really like to do that is stalled.
Yeah, that was on the agenda.
That was going to
2020.
have already happened.
But that's right. So now it's for 2021.
So having got through those, I do have about 8 signs left if anybody wants one, or if you have people call you and say, how do you get signs? Some people did Susan last December, and we got them some signs. But if anybody's interested, we've got those, and they cost more this time than they did the previous time, but I got $22 a piece in them with the stand that goes with them. So they're welcome to that. And if anybody's interested, you can let me know. And I've got them in my car. I'll take them around with me. So if you hear of somebody, let me know their address, and I'll be glad to drop it off with them.
Do you still have some of those Rolex watches in the trunk too?
Yeah, I pull out my jacket and hang it on. So we'll be moving
And I
those.
responded sometimes on social media, whether Nextdoor or Facebook, when these discussions get going. And I say, well, here are some of the things that the city's working on, and these signs are available, and, try to bring a little bit of common sense approach when things start getting a little...
Not super adversarial,
Yes. Yes.
which is
Well, and
All
I think that's
on
where,
social media.
the sensitivity of trying to seek cooperation as opposed to people digging in their trenches and, I'm going to set off my fireworks and I can do that and stuff. And that's where I think the video with the interns would be really important, that it's not a kind of, really
right. It's not
fearful
participants.
thing.
I was trying
Right.
not to
That
be
it's positive.
more, just let's work together and keep a safer community, and all have fun. That was the point. We'll see if that's what I got across. No telling.
By July, maybe we'll be a little more community-wise, know what's going to be expected, and we can go from there in planning another meet. I didn't get to go to the successful one. It was very successful last year, meet the neighbors and so forth. But I think that's a great idea, as well as the barn tour whenever we can work it in. But we just got to wait and see what the situation comes up with. For other new business that I didn't mention a while ago, and we went ahead and covered these items, the clearing of the trails. I know Susan's been there and seen them. Have any of you been to Birmingham Park?
I haven't been. Give us an update. How's it look?
It looked great. I was there, I think, 2 weeks into when they started, but we had a lot of rain during those 2 weeks, and it didn't look like it was complete. Do you know, Courtney, any update from the Public Works Commissioners to? Okay. I haven't had a chance. I thought I would have, but I've been tied up with the family that I do the trust fund work for, and I haven't had a chance to get back over there, but I needed to check it. When I was there after Susan was, the trails looked great where they did them. They're terrific. They're at least 6 feet wide. And
The parts that they did, I wasn't sure what was included in that work order for that.
Yeah.
Did you have a good understanding of what it was?
Well, I did going into it, and I hope they've done more than what they did, because after I looked at it, it didn't look like it was $30,500 worth of work. And that's what I want to look at. I got to be careful about criticizing that, because I hadn't been back to look at it, and they may not have got enough clear days, because it was raining quite a bit during that.
Larry, I know one of the guys that was working on it. He's a social friend that works for that company, and because he sent me a picture. He's like, "Look, I'm working for you, Susan. Come on and ride your horse." So he's not in charge of it. He just is one of the guys on the staff. But I think honestly that they were done, because I know they were impressed with how quickly they did it. They did what they thought they were supposed to do.
About 10 days, so I don't know.
And
what
they-
day they were on here out, but
Yeah.
that was a long time ago.
I know that my friend was,
Yeah.
it was done. I mean, I don't, I
There was only a
keep them in the
couple
padded
of
stalls, yeah. But I walk that area. I like
the
the
trails they
walking.
did look great. The one thing that bothered me that I need to check on is, and what they included, I saw, the bid that was put out, but they were supposed to handle some of the washing, where it washes the trails and that still needed to be done, and they may not have been able to do it due to the weather at that time, and they may have been back and done that. But I know they removed when I was over there, they had removed the equipment, and I didn't know if it was temporary or permanent, or if they were coming back to do the trail erosion control in some of
Who do they report to?
Kind of gone in and did the quality check once they were done. I mean, is that Robert Drury that would have done that, or do we know who would have gone over and just kind of walked it or looked at the finished product?
Yeah, I was going to check with Robert, and I haven't had a chance to do that. So I'll make it a point to do that, and we'll get an update, and I'll try to get it out to all of
You
you.
guys want to schedule a field trip? Let's haul some horses over there. and check it out.
Yeah, but last year I got out a couple of times with Tony and with Chrissy, and we went on four-wheelers, and Tony and I had an episode of turning a four-wheeler over.
Yeah, that's Larry will take you for a ride.
That's
You
right.
make it through the
We'll go
ride.
sniping.
Yeah.
And bring
I
it
think I'm
back.
going to take a horse next time. Let's leave the four-wheeler alone.
Yeah. You gotta get that grease donkey, that grease mini donkey's hard to catch.
Don't seem near as bad.
Yeah, no kidding. So,
But we can get to your trail now with an emergency vehicle.
yeah,
They did do it, and all the way even where you came up, that
Sure.
hard part, they did down through there. So they did a lot of good work. I mean, I really appreciated riding in the trails. It was late one Saturday. I was in there for about 2.5 hours riding. I think I covered most of it, but none of the power line work was done. And the pink trail between the white trails and back over to the main opening, they didn't get to any of those pink trails. But they did some on the white trails. They did the blue and the yellow trails. And the blue trails are pretty hard. Some of them, they couldn't take the trees down where the trail was, so they circled around them. But one of them was straight up, and it was wet the day I was there. I didn't even take my horse up it because it was so slick that I was afraid, and I'm sure it didn't have tracks on it like others had traveled there either. So that was the kind of things that I think we need to look at to make sure the erosion control is going to be taken
did they
care
put
of.
any sort of mulch or anything on them? They just left them bare dirt or what?
They were just using the mulch from the trees that they didn't bring
throw it
any
back on
mulch
there?
in, right?
Yeah, they were just kind of chipping what they took down. right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great because it chipped it out right there, and then there was some there.
Good.
So that's good.
I can't wait to see it.
I mean, I love it. You can meet a horse on it now without, any trouble. Or if you're on a horse and somebody else is walking, there's not that intimidation of being right up to each other. Now, some of the trails Chrissy and I went back to were pretty wooded back in there, and you and I made some. And now I think I can get my tractor in there with a bush hog, that I could bush hog some of that area down next to the creek, because they did clean out a trail to get in there. I wouldn't do that without notifying Robert and getting permission to do that, and try to pick it during the week.
Just
And
go on in there and just go for it.
but nobody's going to mess with you with a bush hog.
Yeah, nobody.
It looks official.
But it would be appreciated, I know, by the people walking, because I was going through there with my horse, and it was all I could do. All you could see is just the trail where the horse could walk, and it was 2 feet high in growth. So already this spring, so it would be nice to get a wider trail back that goes down to the creek and everything. So those are things we need to work on and get that done. We didn't have a work day this year. We've had a work day for the last 2 years and had over 50 people each of the years on that work day. But we didn't have one scheduled this year because they were planning to do this. And I'm glad we didn't, because coronavirus would have hindered that process also. But at least we've got, I think everybody, I've heard several comments from people that they have been there and they like the trails. And Susan was one of the first to bring it to my attention, and I appreciated you doing that. Okay,
Well,
and that's
I
the other
think with
thing.
all the construction we see going on around the corner, a workday out of Birmingham Park is not going to be restricted by Corona, because if they can put up a building here, I mean,
Well, the
get
workplace,
it.
it was volunteers.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying that, I mean,
Yeah.
Being outside, I wouldn't worry too much about all that. I think we can split up.
We accomplished a lot
It was
on those two
amazing how
work days,
much,
but
yeah.
and they cleared out a lot of trees on these trails that were too huge for us to accomplish, even though Tony and several people did a good job on some big trees, but especially Don, yeah, he did a great job. But we got a lot of work done, but this is more for professionals to do, and there's still some trees that we could clean up in there if we had to. But what we were trying to do is work within the budget. The other thing I want to bring up as a new item is that the nonprofit has been applied for. We haven't been accepted yet, but we expect to be in probably around the August timeframe. It's already okay to start raising money in it. We've raised $3,500 already, and so we postponed a lot of our meetings and activity due to coronavirus too, and Liz and what's her name? Bunsky? What is her name? Anyway, the other lady that's on the committee, they have put off any meetings until August, and we're going to formalize a meeting to go before the council to get their full approval of contributions for that. And they're aware of it. We've met with all the council and everything, but this is the official move to get the interest community-wide for people to contribute to it. Because right now we've already raised $3,500 and it's just getting started. And what we can have in that committee, Brian, is we have a nonprofit, and we don't have to go out and get bids. We don't have to do a lot of the stuff that the city has to go through, and we can get work done right now. If we see something specifically that needs working and we have enough money raised, and I think a lot of people that over there would gladly give money to a nonprofit that they can write off on their taxes each year for something to be done on those trails. And it's not just for Birmingham Park, that's for any of the parks in Milton. So
I've seen the new signs on Wood Road. Where did those signs, was that a city thing, Courtney? What are those?
The other trails signs?
Yes. Okay.
yeah, that was really good. That's been a positive thing, because it's funny, because every day when I turn onto Phillips Circle, it seems like the number of cars have decreased dramatically. And so, great job on that. That was,
That and the gyms have reopened.
yeah. With the city acquiring all these properties and them being rolled out as preserves, not parks, because they're not all polished and everything like a park would be. Is there any concept or any thoughts or desires on having a Milton mounted police?
Oh, I have no idea.
Because I know the one.
I haven't heard that discussed at all.
Where
We've
does
heard
Tony sign
defund the
up?
police.
Well, yeah. Well, I know the
Carry a
one
gun in, ride a horse?
because the one officer.
Volunteer. I mean, the police officer volunteer.
Maybe that's something I can do in my retirement.
Yeah. We'll give you a badge, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we want to give laser
Mounted
gun.
police. That'll be like the Roy Rogers,
That's right.
riding on the horse chasing someone.
No, but Robert and I, we walked the country club and stuff, and man, you get back in there, either you're going to need some kind of ATV vehicle or something, or you're going to have some mounted police, but there would actually be room out there to create a barn and house the.
Yeah, that's really grown up since it was a golf club.
I know, but just a thought if this.
I think we as a committee decided at the moment to focus on Birmingham Park to make sure that it stayed passive because that was under discussion. And I think we're all comfortable now that that's going to be. And I think we're looking at, or the city is looking at doing some improvements there, like a water source. And there's been discussion of a place to tie up a horse, like if somebody got hurt.
At Birmingham Park, you mean?
At Birmingham
Yeah.
Park,
And more
specifically.
designated trailer parking.
Yeah, specifically designated trailer. So we've been kind of just focused on Birmingham Park and waiting to see kind of how the others shook out, what was going to happen with them.
And some of the non-recreational parks have been put under public safety rather than Parks and Recreation. So I don't know whether you knew that or not. They did that during the summer last year, right, Courtney?
Yeah, I think it was around.
I think it was around August.
Now they're reserves, and not parks.
Right.
But-
They're green space, so they won't be.
Yeah. Well, I guess, would it be okay if I investigate budget?
Where would they be, the intent of where would they patrol? Would it be just the parks?
So I think primarily the parks, but then also if city had activities, they could be seen around here, which further enhances the whole equestrian, kind of concept.
I like it.
Yeah, I think that's a good
What do you
idea.
think about it?
I'll try to at least investigate and see what numbers. The numbers may be cost prohibitive and stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Unless you find enough volunteers like me that will do it for nothing.
yeah.
Right.
Well, even for like Wood Road and the other preserves, I had suggested creating a kind of a citizens force, like safety officers.
And we
Give
have
them
that, right? The safety officer, we have that
I
program.
see a lot of officers patrolling now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
see
but-
it quite frequently
They
now.
could be on horseback.
What's that?
Right.
On
Right,
Wood
I know,
Road.
yeah, but I think you could expand that by, having people just walking with
I'm gonna
a,
be worried about losing our mounted officers with the the teams of bikes that have hit Wood Road. I've never seen as many bike teams as I have recently.
On Wood Road?
Yes, I never used to see that before.
yeah, no, I was surprised by the
You're
number of
surprised too?
Lycra riders
Yeah,
on
that
that
worries
road.
me. I mean, I don't know that you control it. It does worry me with the horses, just because the speed.
Yeah,
It's one thing when
different.
you're walking up with a dog, and but sometimes those teams of bikes come by at such a fast pace, and you're kind of not.
You mean when you're on horseback?
Yeah, anyone on a horse.
We were on Summit weekend before last, and we had about 20 bicyclers come by. And
It's intense, right? When they.
my wife goes, "Hey, here's a bike." And okay, no problem.
Yeah.
There's two. Oh no, there's about 20 of them.
Yeah.
We got off, and
The
Yeah.
horses do okay? I mean,
they did fine. But who knows when a herd of bikes come by?
Oh,
Right.
yeah. Mine would be.
It's not.
I
You're
would
not.
be
You don't have as much time
flying.
to prepare, right?
Yeah, you just don't know.
You don't know, and by the time you realize they're coming, they're
Right.
coming.
Yeah.
Which takes us back to our desensitization program.
Absolutely.
And I do know
Yeah.
that cyclists are
You're right.
very safety conscious as well. And
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
perhaps one of the reasons that they're on Wood Road, it's because it's very dangerous. We don't have good bike lanes and that kind of thing. So I think if that's a thing, I bet we could work with them. The organized rides. I mean, there's the old blind dog
Education,
is a
like-
big one.
Well,
Yeah.
as you said, I mean, because they obviously have their own safety
They-
issues that are a
absolutely,
big deal for the
absolutely.
cyclists, but
Yes.
they might, it's,
Well,
they may not
usually
be ignorant, they
we
have
saw,
no
they
idea.
Were very nice.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
They stopped and they said, "Would you like us to walk our
Oh,
bike?"
that's
And
good.
They
Yeah.
were very kind about
Yeah.
it. I was very impressed. Because normally when I'm on the road with bicyclists, they're not always the most, generous people. But when you're on horse, they all seem to be pretty dang nice.
Oh, that's
awesome.
good.
Yeah,
I'm
that
glad to
makes
hear
me
that.
happy.
Yeah.
I haven't, I've never bumped up against it.
Well, we were talking earlier about the subdivisions being interested in what's going on and everything, and I had just Friday night of last week, and I had gone to, I think, Home Depot or Lowe's or something, and my wife I get a notice on my phone from ring.com that someone walked up to the door, and it was a lady and her husband and two boys, and they're from New York, and they moved into the new subdivision that's been developed since 2007. They started developing it, and then it went dead, and finally somebody stepped in there and revived it, and they built all the new houses in there. So they're across from my property. It's just across the drive, and their house is almost directly across from our garden area where we have a vegetable garden. And so they walked all the way around to our place to introduce themselves, and they had a bag of cookies. I felt really bad because I'm like, you can't keep up with all the new people moving in subdivisions. And here they come bringing us cookies to, and had a card that introduced themselves. And they were from New York and just wanted to get to meet the neighbors. They moved in during the coronavirus. And but they were interested. They had 2 boys, 5 and 8, and they were really interested in our horses and, stuff like that. And so I've created a friendship with them. I wasn't there, but Nadine took them in and showed them around, showed them the place, and they're really nice people, And I told her, I said, I thought we were supposed to be welcoming them. We've been here 62 years. But the truth is, it is nice to have people do that, because you do know who move into those locations and they come around and you get to know them easier.
Along those lines, Larry, what if the committee created a little Dear Welcome to Milton kind of packet, equestrian community, in which, we talk about, the potential danger of fireworks and, loud noises to the horses. And, we just kind of, politely, highlight those things and just make them aware. And we just gave it to some of the real estate companies. And if they were...
I think it might go down a little better if it was also paired with, where you could
$10 off at
lessons
Papa John's.
Yes. Something so that it doesn't seem like we're like, okay, welcome to the community and follow these rules.
Yeah.
Exactly. HOA rule, right?
Yeah, you could have a whole listing of some of the local farms that offer lessons or something.
Mm-hmm.
That would be great. That would really be...
They appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, a survey of what farms we have, whether they're, commercial and have lessons or whatever, or just exist, to have those listed, a list of those in the community would be great.
I would love that. That was something that I kind of talked about when I first, just because I'm a data person, so it drives me crazy especially because they throw around what the percentage is of equestrians and farms in Milton, and I'm like, how do you know that? Do you actually know that? You're making that up. They don't, and it drives me crazy.
I found it somewhere online, like us.
Right.
Just Anchorage.
So we haven't quite figured out how
Well,
to.
we did talk about, I guess the commercial ones have to have stable licenses.
Right, so we could figure out.
So we could perhaps go through the state.
Well, but even simpler than that, Courtney, can't we, through the city, send out an email, hey, we're conducting a survey of equestrian farms, and then we can break it down, and the committee can come up with the survey, and then Courtney can blast it out to their database. And then, because do they offer lessons? Approximately how many horses do they have? Is it just private? So I think lessons are private. How many horses do they have?
That's what I really want to know.
Or active farms too.
Well, and
Yeah.
if you also, if I were doing that, I would want to capture too people that are equestrians. You don't have to be a horse owner to be an equestrian. You have to take lessons, those people are every bit as much equestrians as people that own 60-acre farms. So, and I want to know that, because whenever they kick around it's not so equestrian around here, I'm like, I think it's more equestrian than you think it is if you really crunch the numbers. So, I would certainly love to actually have that. I don't know how much people would respond or not.
Just like Freemanville Road, you could start at the top to all the way to Crabapple on Freemanville Road, and there's little places off that you can go to that have been out there for years, and they have animals, and you don't know what they
That's
do.
right.
And it's hard even from the city with surveys, even like our census doesn't take in that type of information.
That's right. That's
Is
right.
there a list of the historic, because I know some of them are just houses now, but a lot of those historic homes were in essence farms back, everything was larger acre tracts. Is there a list in Milton what our historic homes are? I know that they placed all those signs, right? So someone had to.
Historical Society.
Historical Society?
We got research on it.
Well, and there's
I
that.
don't know if they.
Who did that? The book, that Barnes of Milton.
I have that.
So do I. I have it too.
Didn't he come talk to us?
But he talked to
Yeah.
us.
So there's a list. I don't know if it's on. Let me look on our website.
Out of curiosity, like.
Because he would probably know that.
Come up with the right kind of survey information we could do and voluntarily go do that. all of us could take the roads we live on. I think 3 of us are down Freemanville.
Yes.
It'd take 3
Yes.
people to do Freemanville.
Freemanville,
But
We could do it.
like on Wood Road area out there, you've got quite a few out there. And
Yeah, but if we really want to try to get a good feel for the whole city,
oh yeah,
I think that's where, we need to write down any thoughts or questions, to create that survey, and then Courtney can,
I think you're right. I think it'd be
You know,
beneficial.
where I board is at Mountain in Westbrook, and you go along Westbrook, and it's just farm after farm after farm. So,
Now, that northern part of Milton is
Yes.
very equestrian, and obviously down here it's much less, so it's more developed.
Sadly.
Yes, it is, but I would like
And,
to.
I've been around a long time, but you go to some of those roads and you look at them and say, I haven't been in here in years, and see how developed it is. It's really changed a lot. I can remember when they started naming these roads up here, and they were Red Road, and, all of those had put signs up, and Fulton County finally put signs out there to name them. We just knew it was, the Hawkins lived there, or and that's how you knew the roads.
Have you always been at that property?
I've been there 45 years, but we lived in downtown Alpharetta
Okay.
with my mom and dad till I went off to college. But when we come back from college, we bought that. I graduated in '69. We bought it in '72, so it was just a couple of 3 years.
Wow.
And we lived in Alpharetta, though we had a home. We bought a home in Alpharetta, and then we moved out there at '72.
That's amazing.
So we've been there 45 years. My son turns 50 next week, and he was 5 when we moved out there. So,
That's awesome. Yeah, you've seen some change.
Yes.
a lot of change. I've ridden my horse down all the way to Crabapple, on country roads. It wasn't, and you get out, it wasn't anything to see people out riding horses out in that back in those days. I was in my 20s then. I'm still as gutful now in my 70s as I was in my 20s.
You are. That's great. I agree.
But anyway, that's good information, and I think if we work on that and think about how we could develop that survey, might be a good thing.
Is there, when y'all do surveys, is there somebody there's some science to surveys, like how many questions one would ask, where you might actually get a response? And is there anybody in the city that really knows the ins and outs of surveys?
Greg may have some knowledge, and we do have a paid Survey Monkey account, so we can use that too.
Okay.
yeah, because just basically, do you have an active horse farm? Yes, no. How many horses do you have? 1 through 5, 6 through 10, greater than 11? What discipline? And sorry, Tony, I only listed Western. Do you break that down? Because I got hunter jumper, show jumping, dressage, eventing, Western. Is that?
well, and don't forget other, because there's Arabians, and I think there are still some saddlebred farms.
Well,
And then do you offer lessons? And then address and contact info.
Well, yeah, which people that should be an optional thing. I wouldn't want to make them put their address and contact.
Well, but I think at the beginning you could put, we're trying to survey the horse farms in Milton to try to understand possible resources in the community and market your.
Yeah. And to help everyone work together to preserve the rural character.
Right,
Well,
yeah.
And something that we've mentioned repeatedly in the course of discussing our equestrian activities is it's really kind of more agricultural. We're trying to not just keep the horse farms around. We're trying, if you've got livestock there of any sort, you're welcome, so I guess
Yeah, that's
we'd have
true.
to roll into that, if there's a vegetable farm there, if there's sheep, exactly,
Well,
I don't know,
but-
without
but I-
drilling down too much, but because I think we want to understand the agricultural lifestyle that still exists in Milton.
Well, but I think for the committee, we're horse though.
We are, but
It would
we
be great to
roll out wider
understand
than
the
that.
whole big picture.
I
But
think it
back to your
matters.
point, how many questions will they fill
But
out?
Well, yeah.
I think you could have horses, and then you could have other livestock.
Right. Without drilling down too much, but to be
Right,
inclusive
and
of that.
other agricultural use of your property.
Right.
Without, listing.
You'd be amazed how many people have chickens.
Yeah.
Even in
Exactly.
subdivisions.
Yeah.
Love my chickens.
And So I'm sorry, agricultural use, was that the,
What did I say?
let's see.
Yeah, other agricultural use.
So horse
Under
farm,
there.
other agricultural use?
Other livestock.
Yeah, as far as what.
So
what
horse
they've
farm,
got
other
on.
livestock, agricultural use. So 3 things,
Yeah,
okay.
because that encompasses.
As you can tell, I like I like to do things quick, because I know once we leave, then things kind of get kicked down the road, and, I mean, if there's value to this, then
Yeah.
let's get Courtney cooking on it. Right, Courtney?
Courtney's like, wait,
Copy and paste them. But yeah, if I can get with it. It goes right along. Susan, you're right, as we talk about preventing, and I don't say preventing development, but if we want Milton to stay rural and agricultural, we do have to find ways to promote agribusiness, and alternative uses.
Yeah.
For development. And so,
Right.
I think including
So I don't want
that.
to I don't want to exclude all of those people that are motivated, I want to,
And I
Make
think
us
it's
all aware that they
important
exist.
for us to have, data to come, when everybody goes, oh, well, there's no horses here anymore
That's-
anyway.
right.
We can say, well,
that's my drive, that's what
Yeah.
has driven me nuts from the start of all of this.
and we've
just
talked
no
about
data.
before, like, once a horse farm is a subdivision, it's never going
Yeah.
back to a horse farm.
Right.
But agricultural properties
Yep.
may not have horses on them for how many years, but then still have the ability to still be an equestrian property.
Right.
So that's what we had talked
Yeah,
about,
there's a lot of those.
keeping that alive and finding like the ways to protect that. But once those acreage properties are gone, that there's never going to be a
can't
horse.
bring that
There's
back.
never going to be a horse on that property.
That's right. Even people that have 5 acres and just a great big front yard.
Yes.
Those feel very rural.
Yes,
They may not have any animals on them other
But
than
they
dog and cats.
But they
Yeah.
could, right.
They're still big country properties.
and we want that, and that came, so while we're the equestrian committee, when we met with the community planners, who are the people that we're meeting with tonight?
I know, that's what I was excited to see,
But
what's that?
community development.
Community, thank you, sorry, the community development team, that came up a lot when
A
we were
lot, but
talking
we
with
were very
them.
vocal
Yeah.
about that, so I'm going to be interested to see if that was something that was taken when you said I'd like to see.
Yes, so
Yeah.
I'm curious to,
Me
yes, I
too.
want to see if they took that into account, which they seemed really receptive to
Right.
it. But it's something that we kind of all, as we talked through it, sort of honed in on as an
Felt that
important
was important.
aspect of the equestrian committee. While it's not specifically equestrian, it really does fall under this umbrella because there isn't an agricultural committee. Maybe there should be, but there isn't. So it's on us at this point, I think. I don't know. That's my position.
Well, these are all very good subjects we need to discuss and get done, and any work you can do on that survey, Brian, would be great to maybe develop something that we could use.
Okay, so I'll put a draft. And Courtney, I know with the trail committee, everyone had to give their consent to exchange, contact information. So
Right.
is that-
That's a good point. You all should have all city emails, but some of you have put out the forms.
Yeah,
Like
I
all of us,
don't want a
maybe?
city email. I don't want a city email.
There's that. I think just Tony and Julie, Chrissy.
Yeah, I don't think I ever said
Yeah,
that.
I don't think I saw this yet.
Oh, okay, well, I
So
guess
you'll
I
just
But-
sign
did
that
it.
and
Good for
make
me.
the,
But could we take a
Sounds
voice
good.
measure that it's okay for you to share everyone's contact information with each other? Well, yeah, because with the trail committee, that was so frustrating that you were like, okay, well, I want to send an email to the committee. Well, we don't have their permission. And it's like, are you
Well,
kidding
we're
me?
really
We're a
fancy
pretty
free
small
around here.
community.
Yeah.
We've got our emails, and what we need to do is just share with you our information. And
but yeah,
Okay.
maybe use those city emails. Because
So
everyone-
I'll put a draft together and then I'll launch it out. Please mark it up, change it up, anything, add,
Okay.
and then we'll send it to Courtney. And then away we go.
That'd be great.
Great.
All right. I want to adjourn, and then I want to tell you a rumor I've heard because it affects our equestrian committee, or affects our equestrian community, but it's just a rumor, it's not fact. But has anyone heard anything about the polo, and I'm talking about polo racing like Prince Charles,
Yeah.
and it's at Trophy Club. the broker that's handling the deal, I understand it's supposed to close in June, and they're going to sell the trophy club, and it will be a golf club until the end of the year. And at that point, they'll start construction of a very classy polo club.
Like
Is it-
residential and equestrian?
It's not actually going to be residential. It's going to be just a club and then different buildings built in it.
And
Does
they're gonna do
anybody
polo
have-
out there.
Do you guys know anything?
I haven't heard that, but that's so interesting.
The guy that told me is supposedly the broker that's handling the
He
deal.
would know.
And when he told me, it was 3 months ago, and he told me it was confidential, and so I've kept it confidential all that time. But now that June's here, I'm curious if anyone had
I don't
heard
know
about
about
it.
it.
I play golf over at Trophy Club occasionally, and there's a lot of hills and valleys in there, but I think of polo as being pretty
It's
level
flat.
area.
It is. It's super
And,
flat.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
But-
So the fun thing with that would be either if they would be willing to do some kind of cross-country course, because I did an amazing cross-country course in the Connemara Mountains in Ireland. And I mean, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you went in, you bought your ticket, and then you went out on the horse and went around the course.
He
they
says
they
it's
could do
first
something
class.
like,
And he said that he showed me the drawings. I mean, on his phone, he had drawings
wanna see
and
the
development
drawings.
plans. And
Would that be something that would,
That have
would
to
that be
go
a public, wouldn't that be something that would be like zoned that we
Yeah,
would
they have
know?
to be zoning for that.
Right?
Yeah, there's gotta be somebody.
There's
in the
gotta be
city.
a record somewhere of that.
Golf course, I don't know if that.
You wouldn't need additional.
But before they could go do any sort of building of any sort, they'd have to go through the city architect, and they'd have to go through probably.
oh yeah, they got a lot
some
of.
sort of design review board approval. I mean, so if they're going to make that kind of investment in that piece of real estate with that elaborate of a plan,
And
I've
even
gotta
to the
believe-
point of sale.
Courtney, can you bird dog and see if we can figure out within the city if anybody knows anything?
Courtney's making a note to Bird Dog.
Give me your mole.
Bird Dog.
Yeah, can you be our mole and find out what's going on?
I mean, as far as community and interest in people going to see
think
it,
this is
it'd be great.
Yeah, I love it. I think
Yeah,
it's
please.
great.
I don't know what my position is.
Been to it, and I think it's a lot more sophisticated than the polo fields at, like up in
Like it-
Forsyth County when they had the polos.
Yeah, that's
But
soccer now.
yeah, this was world class. He
Although they
said,
had, that's a beautiful barn that's up in
yeah,
Forsyth County.
it is.
Which one? What are you talking
That
about?
But
could-
anyway,
that
really-
could be kind
Polo
of cool.
fields,
I'm just glad it's not going to be a subdivision.
no.
Yeah.
You know,
Up in
I mean, how many
Forsyth
houses
County,
they can
I
probably
don't
fit
know
into that thing? A
Oh.
lot.
how to tell you, I know how to drive there, I can't tell you how to get there.
No, I'm just.
I would think the city, by the way, would
Well, they've already got houses around it, for
And they
the club.
have, still have
I'm-
beautiful barns.
I'm
But
sure-
but the city, I'm sure they would bend over backwards to try to make
Freddie
that thing come
Stevens was
together.
teaching out
Yeah.
there a
At
least I
little
hope
bit.
so.
I don't think she's
Yeah.
doing
Right.
that anymore.
Don't think so, that's my thing.
But
then there's Union Hill Polo too, which is just down Birmingham Road.
really, I don't even know
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, Union Hill Polo.
Well,
All right, well, I don't want
either
to
way,
keep,
I like.
Yeah, keep us posted. That's
polo
kinda cool if you
fields
hear.
coming in.
All
That's
right.
neat. The polo.
Do we
Keep us
need to
posted
vote
on
to
that.
adjourn the meeting though?